I'm Clara Vance, 32 years old, and right now, I'm standing in the meticulously manicured driveway of what used to be my home in Greenwich, Connecticut, with everything I own crammed into a single, slightly beat-up roller suitcase. You know the kind of driveway I'm talking about, the kind where the shrubs are sculpted into perfect spheres and the cobblestones cost more than my first car. The front door, a heavy mahogany beast, just shuttered shut behind me, the sound so final and violent it actually made the house windows rattle. That was Ethan Thorne's signature move. The dramatic exit, the final word. His last words to me are still echoing in the dead silence of this ridiculously expensive neighborhood. You never accomplished anything on your own, Clara. Now prove me wrong. It's almost comical, isn't it? The neighbors are definitely peeking through their pristine, plantation-style shutters, pretending not to notice the scene. Nothing screams a successful marriage like your CEO husband tossing you onto the curb like yesterday's recycling. If you've ever felt that soul-crushing moment of complete, total powerlessness, like your whole life has been reduced to one angry man's fleeting decision, then you know exactly where I was standing, emotionally and physically. The divorce papers had been served 2 days ago, shockingly fast. Ethan, the man who couldn't remember to replace the toilet paper roll, became a bureaucratic genius when it came to erasing me from his life. He gave me exactly 30 minutes to pack my essentials and get out. 30 minutes to grab 3 years' worth of memories. The irony is so thick I could choke on it. For 3 years, I tried to be the perfect wife, the supportive partner for his high-flying tech firm, while he spent 2 of those years systematically dismantling my self-worth. It all started, as these things often do, with a desire for a family. We had been trying to have a baby for 2 agonizing years. 2 years of doctor's visits, invasive tests, and the constant, heartbreaking disappointment of a negative pregnancy test every month. But instead of shared grief, every failed attempt became fresh ammunition for Ethan's cruel verbal assaults. "Maybe you're just defective, Clara," he'd sneer, after I'd cry over another negative result. My ex-girlfriend got pregnant accidentally in college. Maybe the problem is obvious. He treated my body like a faulty piece of machinery, a car that wouldn't start. He never once considered looking in the mirror, because men like Ethan never do. They are the fixed points in their own universe. Everything else revolves around and often fails because of them. The abuse was insidious, a slow bleed. It started with small, dismissive comments that were easy to overlook, the tiny paper cuts to my confidence. He was an artist of manipulation, and my self-esteem was his canvas. And let me tell you, his masterpiece was not beautiful. He gradually isolated me, suggesting that family just complicates things and discouraging me from pursuing my own career path. I was so busy trying to earn his approval and prove I wasn't defective that I let it all happen. But 6 months ago, something finally snapped. I secretly scheduled my own comprehensive fertility panel. I needed the truth, even if it meant confirming his worst accusations. The results came back pristine. I was functionally perfect. My doctor was impressed. It was a stunning vindication, but it was also terrifying because it meant the problem lay elsewhere. When I tentatively suggested Ethan get tested too, the explosion was instantaneous and spectacular. "I'm not the one who can't get pregnant," he roared. "Don't try to make this my fault because you're broken." That was the line, the defining moment. He didn't just deny it. He weaponized my vulnerability. And yet, I still hesitated, clinging to the remnants of the life we had built. The final, unforgivable betrayal came last week. I found a brochure tucked deep in his desk drawer. It wasn't for couples counseling or a joint clinic. It was for a private, male-focused fertility center just for him. He was secretly having himself evaluated while publicly continuing to blame me. When I confronted him, he didn't even bother to deny the hypocrisy. He just looked at me with cold, surgical detachment and said, "I need to know if I'm wasting my time with someone who can never give me what I want." That was the end. That night, I contacted the lawyer I'd been secretly vetting for weeks. When your husband starts treating you like a broken vending machine, ladies, it's time to find the exit. So here I am, standing on the curb, supposedly worthless, homeless, and with a soon-to-be ex who believes he's won. He thinks he's finally shed the defective wife who's holding him back from his perfect life. What he doesn't know, what he couldn't possibly grasp, is that he didn't just throw me out. He set me free. And trust me, Ethan Thorne is about to discover that this defective appliance just became the most expensive mistake of his life. Right now, though, I just need to find a place to sleep. And with $300 to my name, that feels like a monumental task. The practical realities of a life imploded hit harder than any dramatic moment. My phone just died, and I realized my cell plan was tied to his corporate account. He'd cut off my communication the same day he destroyed my life. That's a whole new level of petty. The sun is dipping below the horizon, painting the sky over the city of Stamford, Connecticut, in bruised purples and oranges. I'm parked in the back corner of a brightly lit, 24-hour diner parking lot, nursing a lukewarm coffee and staring at the reflection of my beat-up sedan in the window glass. The car looks sad, just like me, wedged between two shiny, aggressive SUVs. This is my new reality, a $312 bank balance, and nowhere to go. Ethan had been thorough, surgically precise. He'd wiped out the joint account days before serving the papers, ensuring my sudden exile was also a financial execution. My heart aches, but it's a dull, tired ache now, not the sharp sting of betrayal. The dramatic part is over. Now comes the humiliating, tactical part, survival. $300 might cover a cheap motel for 2 nights, maybe 3, if I exist solely on crackers and water. But what then? I'm completely alone. My mother passed when I was 19, and my incredible, humble father, George Vance, died 5 years ago. No siblings, no close cousins, and certainly no close friends. Ethan made sure of that. He'd always scoffed at the idea of close family, claiming they only complicated success. I'm wondering now if he deliberately isolated me, or if I was just too blind, too busy trying to be the perfect wife to notice the cage tightening around me. Spoiler alert, there's no such thing as perfect enough for a man whose foundation is built on finding fault. The waitress, a kind woman in her mid-50s named Dolores, with tired eyes and a sturdy demeanor, keeps glancing my way. I've been sitting here for 2 hours pretending to read the local paper while simultaneously fighting off a full-blown panic attack. I must look like I'm about to order a mental health intervention along with the blueberry pancakes. Just as the desperation starts to feel like a suffocating blanket, I feel a strange lump in the bottom of my purse. I reach in and my fingers brush against something stiff and plastic, something I haven't thought about in years. It's the card. Dad gave it to me during my last visit to his small apartment above the hardware store in our hometown, about 6 months before he passed. I was 27 then, still starry-eyed, still foolishly optimistic about my life with Ethan. I remember Dad pulling me aside in the kitchen, his hands calloused and worn from years of working at the counter. He pressed this simple, black piece of plastic into my palm. "Keep this safe, Clara," he he'd said, his usually jovial eyes unusually serious. "Don't tell anyone about it, especially not Ethan. If life ever gets really hard, if you ever feel like you have nowhere to turn and your back is against the wall, this might just help you get back on your feet." At the time, I thought it was sweet, a sentimental gesture. I figured it was a small savings account, maybe $5,000 or $10,000 he'd tucked away, a father's safety net. George Vance was a frugal man, always clipping coupons and driving his 15-year-old Ford pickup truck. He certainly never seemed like he had extra money. I thanked him, kissed him on the cheek, and honestly promptly forgot about it, sticking it deep into a hidden pocket of my old wallet. When you're busy being the trophy wife, you don't think you need an escape plan. You just think you need a better wardrobe. Now, years later, I pull out with trembling hands. It's an old-school bank card. Simple, black, with a retro-looking logo for the Sentinel Legacy Bank. No name printed on the front, just numbers. It feels strangely heavy, almost anachronistic, like something from an era when banks actually cared about privacy and when fathers knew a toxic man when they saw one. I have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. The nearest branch of the Sentinel Legacy Bank, according to a quick Google search on the diner's Wi-Fi, is just 10 minutes from here in downtown Stamford. They're open until 6 p.m. It's 4:45 p.m. now. I have to try. I have to find out what my father, the man I always thought was financially struggling, secretly hid away from me. The short drive feels interminable. My hands are slick on the steering wheel, and I keep checking the rearview mirror for Ethan, which is completely ridiculous. He wants me gone. Why would he follow? But rejection, even from someone you despise, leaves a phantom limb of anxiety. The Sentinel Legacy Bank building itself is imposing. All gray granite, marble columns, and heavy brass fixtures. It screams old money and serious business, completely out of place next to the contemporary glass towers surrounding it. I feel ridiculously underdressed in my jeans and hastily pulled on sweater, but I push through the massive bronze doors anyway. Sometimes you just have to fake the confidence until the real thing remembers how to kick in. I'm walking into the belly of the beast, desperate and raw, but armed with a small, mysterious black card. I just pray Dad's savings account holds enough for a week's rent. Even a tiny cushion would be a massive reprieve right now. The lobby of Sentinel Legacy Bank is hushed and opulent. It's the kind of place where every sound is absorbed by thick carpet and high ceilings. A few older, impeccably dressed clients are conducting quiet business, and a young mother is struggling to keep her toddler from eating the marble floor while she signs paperwork. They look like normal people, living normal, secure lives, none of them trying to stretch $312 into a future. I approach the customer service desk, where a woman in her late 50s, wearing a precise suit and a careful smile, greets me. Her name tag reads Helen. "How can I help you today?" she asks, her voice professionally warm. "I'd like to check the balance on this account," I say, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice. I slide the black card across the smooth marble counter. It feels like a piece of costume jewelry compared to the seriousness of this environment. Helen picks up the card. Her professional mask doesn't slip immediately, but her eyes widen, just a fraction, as she examines the simple design and the unfamiliar bank code. She flips it over, then back. She glances up at me, a flicker of genuine surprise in her eyes, before regaining her composure. "Ma'am," she says, her voice lowering slightly, "this is one of our legacy accounts. I'm afraid our system terminals aren't configured to read these directly at the service desk." Let me get the branch manager for you. He handles all inquiries related to this particular status. A manager? For a simple balance check? That seems dramatically excessive, and my stomach immediately flips. It's either completely worthless, a zero balance from decades ago, or something is terribly wrong. Maybe the card is so old it's triggering a security alert. I nod, trying to project a calmness I definitely don't feel, and retreat to one of the leather armchairs near the towering windows. 5 minutes pass. 10. I watch the traffic outside, counting yellow cabs and trying to distract myself from the cold knot of dread tightening in my chest. Is this the moment they tell me the card expired 20 years ago and is now nothing but a piece of plastic? Then the manager appears. He's a tall man in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, the kind that costs more than I used to make in a month, and he moves with an air of quiet, effortless authority. His face is pale, almost taut, as if he's just received news that could change the direction of an entire nation, not just check my savings account. He approaches me, a slight bow of his head. Ms. Morrison? No, wait. Ms. Vance, he corrects himself, looking down at a thin file he holds. I'm Mr. Sterling, the branch manager. Could you please come with me to my office? We need to discuss this account privately. The way he says privately sends a fresh wave of panic through me. My mind cycles through worst-case scenarios. Identity theft? Unpaid fees? A forgotten debt? I follow him silently, my worn jeans and sweater feeling even more out of place next to his polished shoes. Mr. Sterling's office is everything the lobby suggests. Dark, rich mahogany, buttery soft leather, and a sweeping view of the city street where my humble sedan sits, looking like a runaway at an exclusive country club. He gestures for me to take the plush chair across from his desk, then settles behind his own, his movements careful and measured, like he's handling fragile explosives. Ms. Vance, he begins, his voice low and carefully controlled. I need to verify your identity before we can proceed with any information disclosure. Your driver's license, please. I hand over my Connecticut ID, watching his face intently as he compares it to something on his computer screen. His eyes scan the screen, and I see his professional reserve crack for a brief second. His eyebrows lift slightly, then quickly drop. He types a rapid, precise series of keystrokes, confirming something he seems to find utterly unbelievable. Finally, he turns his monitor slightly towards me. Ms. Vance, I think you need to see this. What flashes on the screen doesn't make sense at first. It's a bank summary, but the numbers are absurd, stretching out into a ridiculous, impossible length. My brain struggles to process the sheer quantity of digits attached to my name. I blink, thinking it's a computer glitch, a transposed figure, a joke. Then I realize what I'm looking at. The bold, black number filling the screen is the current balance. $47,322,816.53. $47 million. The room starts to swim. The polished desk, the leather chair, the entire granite building suddenly tilts. I grip the arms of the chair, my knuckles white, struggling to pull air into my lungs. It can't be real. It simply cannot be right. My father, the man who argued with cashiers over a 10-cent coupon, the man who wore the same leather jacket for 20 years, the man who died thinking he was a burden he couldn't have. He couldn't have amassed a fortune that could buy Ethan Thorne's entire firm 10 times over. I finally managed to croak out the only words that come to mind. There must be some mistake. This can't be right. Mr. Sterling, the branch manager, clears his throat, his expression now a mixture of extreme professionalism and profound empathy, as if he watches people discover they are millionaires every Tuesday afternoon. "There is no mistake, Ms. Vance," he confirms gently. "The account was established 23 years ago under the name of George Vance, your father, and designated in your name as the sole beneficiary and current holder upon his passing 5 years ago. He made regular, incremental deposits throughout his life, and the investments have been managed conservatively but exceptionally well. The balance, you see, reflects that growth." I slump back in the chair, trying to reconcile the image of my humble, coupon-clipping father with the man who orchestrated a $47 million fortune. The dissonance is painful. My George Vance, who drove a 15-year-old pickup and lived above the hardware store, was a secret magnate? But how? I whisper, the question hollow. Dad worked at Vance Hardware. He worried about money. He lived in that tiny apartment. Mr. Sterling pulls up a new screen, displaying neat, chronological records. According to our documentation, Mr. Vance was quite resourceful. He owned several small rental properties in the area, purchased and managed discreetly. More significantly, he made a series of extremely shrewd, early-stage investments. Technology companies, primarily Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, when they were still speculative stocks in the late 80s and 90s. He lived modestly, yes, but he invested wisely. He channeled nearly all of his passive income into this trust. The irony hits me like a physical punch to the gut. While Ethan was spending 2 years convincing me I was a financial burden, a non-contributor, a worthless wife holding him back, my simple, loving father was quietly building a legacy that could buy and sell Ethan's ego several times over. The hypocrisy of my ex-husband's accusations is suddenly not just cruel, but hilarious. Why didn't he tell me? I ask, the words catching in my throat. Why the secrecy? Mr. Sterling clicks to a final document on his monitor. There is a handwritten note in the file, Ms. Vance. Your father's instructions. I lean forward, tears blurring my vision as I read the elegant, familiar script on the screen. It wasn't a cold legal document. It was a love letter from beyond the grave, a final, profound act of fatherly protection. To the manager, Sentinel Legacy Bank. You are only to inform Clara about this account if she comes in personally, presents the card, and appears to be in genuine, immediate need. This money was never meant to make her lazy or entitled. It was meant to be her last line of defense. My daughter is strong and capable, but if she is reading this, it means life, or likely some misguided man, has knocked her down, and she needs help getting back up. This fund is meant to give her the financial freedom to build her own life on her own terms, without ever compromising her values for mere survival. Use it wisely, Clara. You deserve a life where you don't have to settle for less than you're truly worth. George Vance. I press my hand to my mouth, the tears finally overflowing, not tears of sadness, but of overwhelming gratitude, regret, and profound, staggering love. Oh, Dad, I whisper, shaking my head. You sneaky, wonderful man. He hadn't just given me money. He had given me an escape hatch, a blueprint for recovery, and the ultimate weapon against a man who had tried to define my worth. Mr. Sterling discreetly slides a box of tissues across the desk. He was a man of remarkable foresight, Ms. Vance. The account has been managed to his conservative specifications and has nearly tripled since his passing. I think back to Ethan's smug face this morning, his vicious comments about my failure, and his careful, calculated maneuver to leave me destitute. The worthless wife he discarded is now worth nearly $50 million. The only person I owe anything to is the man who always believed in me. I finally wipe my eyes and look at Mr. Sterling. What happens now? I ask, the confidence slowly returning, fueled by the legacy of George Vance. Now, Ms. Vance, Mr. Sterling replies, a genuine smile finally touching his face. You decide what you want to do. We can set up new investment strategies, or you can simply access what you need for immediate expenses. You are free. Immediate expenses, like not being homeless, like a new wardrobe that fits my new tax bracket, and most importantly, like hiring the most ruthless divorce attorney in the state to make Ethan Thorne regret the day he ever called me defective. I need a decent hotel room for tonight, I say, the request sounding surreal, and I need a good lawyer. Mr. Sterling's smile widens. I think we can arrange both. I know exactly who to call. 2 hours later, I am sitting in the presidential suite of the Grand View Hotel, a place where the smallest bottle of water costs more than the gas I have left in my car, surrounded by silk upholstery, panoramic views, and a mountain of legal documents. The suite costs more per night than I used to budget for groceries in a month, but it feels like the perfectly decadent launchpad for my new life and, let's be honest, my measured legal revenge. Mr. Sterling, the branch manager, had moved with astonishing speed and discretion, arranging a wire transfer to a new account, securing the suite, and, most crucially, setting up an immediate consultation with a lawyer he recommended, Jessica Reed. The next morning, I arrive at the law offices of Reed and Associates. The firm looks exactly like what you imagine when you think of powerful women destroying their enemies with paperwork and perfect tailoring. Glass walls, modern, edgy art, and a reception area that probably costs more than Ethan's entire initial business loan. The receptionist, who radiates an aura of efficient chic, offers me a choice of Italian sparkling water or fresh-pressed green juice, and asks if I'd prefer the main conference room or Ms. Reed's private office. I've never been asked my preference by anyone other than a waiter before. It's startling how quickly money changes the way the world responds to you. Jessica Reed herself is exactly what I had hoped for. She is sharp, elegant, mid-40s, and radiates the kind of lethal confidence that suggests she has never lost a case she truly wanted to win. Her handshake is firm, her gaze direct, and her smile, well, her smile is predatory. She leans back in her chair, steepling her fingers, and gets straight to the point. Mr. Sterling gave me the executive summary, Clara. I understand your emotional state and the financial landscape. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how badly do you want to make Mr. Thorne regret his entire life? I settle into the chair, feeling a surge of raw, vindicated energy. About a 15, Ms. Reed. I want him to understand that the emotional damage he inflicted comes with a monumental price tag. She laughs, a deep, confident sound that somehow manages to be both warm and absolutely terrifying. I like you already. Now the basics. You brought the prenuptial agreement, correct? I pull the manila folder from my new, expensive handbag. Yes. Ethan insisted on it, said it was just smart business, and that if I truly loved him, I wouldn't mind signing. I was young, stupid, and too in love to hire my own counsel. Jessica takes the document and flips through the pages with alarming speed. Her eyebrows start rising with every clause she reads. She doesn't speak until she reaches the signature page. Clara, this document is one-sided to the point of being almost laughably exploitative. It states that in the event of divorce, you walk away with only your personal items, the possessions you brought into the marriage. Meanwhile, Ethan retains 100% of all marital assets, including the house, the cars, his business interests, and anything we built together. Your lawyer, the one he provided, did him a disservice by making this so egregious. I know, I sigh, looking out the massive window. That's why I walked out with one suitcase. She slams the document lightly on the desk. But here is the legal loophole, the Achilles heel that money affords us now. Prenuptial agreements can be challenged and often voided if they are deemed unconscionable, grossly unfair, or if one party lacked independent legal representation or, crucially, full disclosure of assets. What does that mean for us? I ask, leaning forward. It means, she says, tapping the clause regarding disclosure, we will commission a forensic audit of Ethan's business and personal finances for the last 5 years. If he misrepresented his worth, or if we can prove he hid assets, we can get this entire prenup thrown out. Even if we don't, it doesn't matter because you are now worth $47 million. But this isn't just about the money, Clara. This is about justice. Your husband emotionally abused you for years, blamed you for his own issues, and then threw you out like trash while keeping everything you helped him build. The law has opinions about that kind of behavior. Suddenly, the cold dread that had been sitting in my stomach is replaced by a slow, powerful burn of vindication. Jessica Reed doesn't just practice law. She weaponizes it for righteousness. She pulls out her phone and starts typing an email. I'm putting a team on the forensic audit immediately. We're going to hit him with the first motion by the end of the week, a motion demanding full disclosure and compensation for emotional distress. Meanwhile, I need you to focus on rebuilding your life. Do you have a plan beyond the divorce? Yes, I confirm, nodding. I'm starting fertility treatments next week. I'm going to have the family I want on my terms, with or without a partner. Jessica Reed smiles. The predatory look softening into genuine admiration. That's the spirit. You go build that life. We'll handle the demolition over here. I leave her office feeling lighter than I have in years, knowing that the legal battle is no longer a source of anxiety, but a vehicle for my empowerment. Ethan Thorne's world is about to get very, very expensive. A week later, I am sitting in the calm, welcoming office of Dr. Sarah Martinez, a fertility specialist recommended by Jessica Reed, who seemed to know everyone worth knowing in the tri-state area. Dr. Martinez's clinic feels less like a sterile medical facility and more like a high-end living room. Soft lighting, comfortable furniture, and a quiet, encouraging energy. It's a refreshing change from the cold, clinical facility Ethan had chosen, where I felt like a malfunctioning gadget that needed troubleshooting. Dr. Martinez is the opposite of clinical. She has a warm, confident demeanor that instantly makes you feel heard. "Tell me about your goals, Clara," she says, settling across from me with a cup of chamomile tea. "Forget the past. What does your ideal family look like?" It's been so long since anyone asked me what I wanted that I have to pause and collect my thoughts. I've always wanted to be a mother, I finally manage. Ethan and I tried for 2 years, but we had compatibility issues. Meaning, my tests always came back perfect. My body was fine, but he refused to be tested and spent 2 years blaming me for our inability to conceive. Dr. Martinez nods, sadly. Unfortunately, that's far more common than you'd think. Some men struggle intensely with the idea that fertility issues could be related to them. It's often a battle of ego, not biology. Well, it's not his decision anymore, I say, feeling a swell of independence. And frankly, I'm grateful I never had children with him. Can you imagine being tied to that level of toxicity forever? Independence is an excellent foundation for any family, she agrees. Now, let's talk about your options. She outlines the various paths: IUI, intrauterine insemination, IVF, in vitro fertilization, and donor selection. detailing the success rates, the emotional commitment, and the financial requirements. She discusses everything Ethan's pride refused to consider. The process will take several months, a focused, meticulous journey of preparing my body and mind. The treatment schedule is intense, Dr. Martinez explains. We'll need updated blood work, psychological evaluations, and then we'll begin preparing your body for the procedure. Are you emotionally ready for this journey, Clara? Am I ready? I think about my plush hotel suite, my pending, explosive divorce, the quiet reassurance of $47 million in the bank, and the complete upheaval of everything I thought my life would be. My life is chaos, yes, but for the first time it's my chaos. I'm 32. I'm financially secure, and I have never been more certain about what I want. I tell her, my voice strong and unwavering. If I wait for the perfect circumstances, I might wait forever. I'm ready now. That, Dr. Martinez says, smiling, is the best answer I could possibly hope for. Women who know their own minds make the best mothers. Over the next 2 weeks, I embrace the protocol with religious devotion, prenatal vitamins, hormone injections, dietary changes, and stress reduction. It's immensely satisfying to finally have a doctor who treats my body like it's capable of working properly, rather than like a broken machine that needs fixing. After years of being called defective, the scientific vindication is delicious. During one of my appointments, Dr. Martinez confirms my commitment is paying off. Your numbers are looking excellent, Clara. Better than excellent, actually. You're responding beautifully to the medications. Your body is in optimal condition for conception. Later that evening, while having a surprisingly easy dinner alone at the hotel restaurant, my phone buzzes. It's a text from an unfamiliar number. I almost ignore it, assuming it's another legal update, but the text is short and intriguing. I hear you've upgraded your residence. Coffee later? I have news to share. Definitely good news. I'd met him briefly in the lobby the day I checked in, a few hours after leaving the bank. He was Dr. Julian Morales, a handsome cardiologist from the medical center across the street who was waiting for a colleague. We'd shared a brief, awkward but easy conversation. I hadn't given him my number, but I had given Mr. Sterling permission to share my new contact info only with Ms. Reed and the clinic. I smile. It seems the universe, or perhaps a well-meaning bank manager, had a hand in this. Good news or bad news? I text back, meet me at the cafe near the park at 7 o'clock. See you there. Suddenly, my journey to motherhood doesn't feel quite so solitary anymore. I arrive at the quaint, sun-drenched cafe near Stanford's public park a little before 7. Dr. Julia Morales is already waiting at a corner table. 2 large coffees already set down, one black, one a complex-looking latte. He's attractive in an understated, confident way. Kind eyes, dark hair, and clothes that are expensive but unflashy. He looks like a man who is comfortable in his own skin, which, after Ethan, is the most attractive trait imaginable. Clara, you look radiant, he says, standing up immediately to greet me. Happy, but also slightly mischievous. Everything okay with the new digs? The grand view is certainly an improvement over the back corner of a 24-hour diner parking lot, I reply, taking the offered latte. It's amazing what a change of environment can do. But enough about me. You said you had good news. Julian takes a slow sip of his black coffee, the aroma mingling with the sweet smell of the pastries nearby. I had a crucial conversation with my partners today. I've been burning the candle at 3 ends for years, working every holiday, running on fumes. They were worried I was headed for burnout, and honestly, they were right. They've not only agreed to me reducing my patient load, they're insisting I take a proper sabbatical. 6 months. Maybe travel. Clear my head. Julian, that's incredible, I say, genuinely happy for him. 6 months of freedom. What's the plan? The initial plan was to go to Tuscany. I inherited a villa from my grandmother there years ago, and I've only visited twice. It's an insane waste of a beautiful property and an equally tragic waste of life. He pauses, setting down his cup, his eyes locking with mine. But that's where the news becomes a proposition. My heart starts beating faster, a nervous flutter I haven't felt since high school. Julian reaches across the table and takes my hand, his touch warm and firm. Clara, I know this is completely unconventional. We've only known each other for a couple of weeks, and I know you're navigating a massive, complicated life change. A full-scale demolition, really. But I can't ignore how I feel about you. How do you feel about me? I ask, the words barely a whisper. Like I've been waiting my whole life to meet someone who makes me want to be a better version of myself, he says, his voice low and honest. Like every relationship before, this was practice for the real thing. You're brave, you're smart, and you're navigating hell with grace and a $47 million war chest. That's undeniably attractive. The vulnerability in his confession is terrifying and utterly beautiful. It's the complete opposite of Ethan's emotional manipulation, which always involved telling me what I needed to change to make him happy. Julian, I say, squeezing his hand, I'm not asking you to make any decisions about your sabbatical based on me. I'm still focused on my fertility journey. That's my priority. I know, he says, his eyes shining with genuine respect. And I'm here, completely genuinely here. I'm not trying to fix you or change your plans. I want to be part of whatever amazing future you're building. I look into his eyes and see not just desire, but deep, unconditional support and respect for my autonomy. Julian wasn't trying to control my choices to feel secure. He was offering to stand beside me while I made them. I have to ask you something personal, I say, taking a deep breath. Are you prepared for the possibility that I might get pregnant through artificial insemination while we're dating? Because that is still my plan, regardless of what happens between us. Julian doesn't even flinch. He just smiles, a beautiful, genuine smile. Clara, I'm a doctor because I believe in helping people create the families they want. Why would I have a problem with the woman I'm falling for doing exactly that? Falling for. He said he's falling for me. And unlike Ethan, who fell for the idea of the trophy wife he wanted me to be, Julian is falling for the raw, resilient, complicated woman I actually am. The relief that washes over me is so intense it nearly brings me to tears right there in the cafe. I think, I say, leaning slightly closer, I'm falling for you too. Good, he grins, looking relieved, because I was really hoping this wasn't a one-sided situation. We talk until the cafe closes, making plans for a spontaneous weekend trip to his family's small cabin in Vermont. As we walk back to the hotel, I realize this is what a healthy relationship feels like. No power struggles, no emotional tightropes, no requirement to make myself smaller to accommodate someone else's insecurities. Just two adults choosing to build something together while remaining completely, wonderfully themselves. The difference between being wanted and being valued, I realize, is truly everything. For months have passed since my dramatic exit. My divorce proceedings are moving forward with the sharp, surgical precision of Jessica Reed's team, and my relationship with Julian has blossomed into something deep, secure, and profoundly joyous. We've been seeing each other regularly. Long weekends in Vermont, quiet dinners at his apartment, and effortless conversations that have helped me remember what genuine happiness feels like. He's the safe harbor I never knew I needed. I am also 6 weeks into my formal fertility treatments with Dr. Martinez. My body has responded incredibly well to the hormone therapy. Dr. Martinez has called me an optimal patient, a constant, quiet victory over Ethan's cruel accusations. The insemination procedure is scheduled for next month. Then, nature decides to play the ultimate ironic joke. Julian and I are spending a long weekend at his cabin, 2 weeks after what I can only describe as a perfect night of intimacy and connection, the kind of intimacy my marriage completely lacked. I wake up feeling violently nauseous for the 3rd morning in a row. I initially dismiss it. Dr. Martinez warned me that the hormone medications could cause irregular cycles and various unpleasant physical symptoms. My period is 5 days late, but that's normal for the treatment phase. However, when I catch a whiff of Julian's strong black coffee, a smell I normally adore, and nearly vomit, a different, staggering possibility surfaces. Could I be pregnant? Naturally, with Julian's baby? The irony is almost comical, if it weren't so profoundly life-altering. After 2 years of trying with Ethan, 2 years of medical intervention, and being told I was broken, my body might have decided to conceive entirely on its own, spontaneously, with a man who actually loves and respects me. It seems my reproductive system has excellent taste in partners, after all. I quietly slip out of the cabin and drive to the nearest pharmacy, feeling completely surreal, like I'm watching someone else's life unfold in a dramatic movie scene. 3 different brands of pregnancy tests, a massive bottle of prenatal vitamins, and some ginger candies for the persistent nausea go into my basket. Back in the quiet sanctity of Julian's guest bathroom, I stare at the boxes. 2 minutes later, I am staring slack-jawed at 2 clear pink lines. Pregnant. I'm actually pregnant. Naturally. With Julian's baby. My hands are shaking as I take the 2nd test, and then the 3rd. All positive. All clearly, definitively positive. I sink down onto the cool tile floor, a storm of emotions overwhelming me. Shock, terror, disbelief, and a feeling of cosmic justice so potent it makes me gasp. After years of Ethan's psychological warfare, telling me I was broken, that I was a failure, my body has created life with a man who actually deserves to be a father. This is more than just a pregnancy. It's the universe's ultimate vindication, a thunderous reply to every cruel word Ethan ever uttered. My first instinct is to call Julian, to shriek the news, but I stop myself. This moment is mine, my miracle, my profound personal victory. I need to absorb what it means to be a mother, not through forced medical intervention, but spontaneously with a man I love. An hour later, I am sitting in Dr. Martinez's office, who is calmly confirming the home results with a blood test. Congratulations, Clara. You're about 6 weeks along and everything looks perfect. But how? I ask, still reeling. I was in the middle of the treatment phase. We were so careful. Dr. Martinez reviews my chart, smiling warmly. Sometimes, Clara, the lifestyle changes, the hormone optimization, and most importantly, the reduction of stress can actually improve natural conception rates. Your body got healthier, your hormones optimized, and you removed the source of chronic toxicity, Ethan. Nature simply took its course with a healthy, willing partner. You are a perfect example of how emotional state impacts fertility. The ultimate irony. While Ethan was insisting I was broken, I was actually just in the wrong environment to thrive, like trying to grow a rare flower in poisoned soil. I'd removed the poison and I bloomed. What happens now? I ask, feeling a sudden surge of protectiveness for this tiny new life. Do I stop the medications? Immediately, she confirms. We transition you to a standard prenatal care routine. This is actually the absolute best possible outcome. Natural conception, a healthy mother, and optimal conditions for fetal development. No more fertility clinic for you, Clara. You've graduated. That evening, I meet Julian for dinner at our favorite Italian spot. He knows something is different the moment I walk in. He stands up and kisses my cheek, lingering slightly. You look like you swallowed the sun, Clara. Absolutely radiant. Happy but nervous. Did you get news from your lawyer? Funny you should mention the sun, I say, taking his hand. I have something much bigger to tell you. His expression grows serious. Good news or bad news? That, my love, depends entirely on your perspective. I take a deep breath, looking him straight in the eye. I'm pregnant, naturally, about 6 weeks along. With you. Julian's face cycles through every emotion known to man. Confusion, pure shock, then a slow, breathtaking wonder. Pregnant, but I thought we were still in the planning phase. Apparently, I grin, tears pricking my eyes. My body had other plans. With you. His smile breaks across his face like a sunrise. He gently takes both my hands across the table. We're going to have a baby, if you want to. I know this wasn't planned, and we haven't been together that long. Julian, I say, the tears finally falling. This is everything I've ever wanted. And after everything, to know that I conceived with a man who loves me, it's a miracle. You're not freaking out. Freaking out? Clara, I'm thrilled, he says, his voice thick with emotion. I'm not, Ethan. I don't need to control your choices to feel secure in our relationship. I'm just grateful. We're building a family. Now, we just have a little head start. The world, for the first time, feels completely, wonderfully right. 3 months later, I am 3 months pregnant, visibly showing and finally starting to feel settled. Julian and I have moved into a beautiful, spacious apartment in downtown Manhattan, a place far removed from the cold, suburban perfection of Ethan's house. Julian's sabbatical is on hold for a few months while we prepare for the baby, and we are blissfully happy. I'm having lunch with Julian at a small outdoor cafe in Central Park, discussing potential baby names, when my phone rings with an unknown number. My first instinct is to ignore it, but the caller ID is masked a private number. Curiosity, that persistent flaw, makes me answer. Clara, it's Ethan. My entire body instantly tenses, a cold not forming in my stomach. The sound of his voice, once familiar, now feels like a physical violation. Julian notices the change immediately, raising an eyebrow in alarm and gently squeezing my hand under the table. How did you get this number, Ethan? I ask, keeping my voice low and steady, projecting a calm I don't feel. I have my ways, he says, his tone shifting from his usual controlled anger to something approaching false camaraderie. We need to talk, Clara. Not about the divorce. About other things. Things I recently found out about you. My blood runs cold. Somehow, someway, he has discovered the inheritance. I don't know what you think you found out, I say, my voice dangerously flat. $47 million, Clara. Your father left you $47 million, and you never mentioned it. We were still married when he passed. That makes it community property, darling. We need to split that. There it is. The real, disgusting reason for the call. Not love, not apology, not reconciliation. Just the money. The sheer, breathtaking audacity of the man is almost beautiful in its villainy. What I inherited from my father is none of your business, Ethan. We're divorced, or soon will be. You made your feelings about me perfectly clear when you threw me out like yesterday's garbage. I was angry and hurt. People say things they don't mean when they're emotional, he whines, the self-pity dripping from the phone. You said those things for 2 years, Ethan. Consistently, deliberately. That wasn't emotion. That was who you really are. You literally cleaned out our joint account and kicked me out with one suitcase while calling me worthless. You don't get to claim community property after that kind of behavior. He pivots instantly, trying the emotional angle. Clara, I know I made mistakes, but we loved each other once. We can work through this. Just meet me for coffee. One conversation. If you still want to proceed with the divorce after that, I'll accept it. I feel Julian's jaw tighten as he watches me. I look him in the eye and mouth, he knows. The answer is no, I tell Ethan, my voice firm and final. Don't call this number again. I hang up and immediately block the number. My hands are shaking with anger and a residue of fear. He wants to reconcile now that he knows about the money, I tell Julian, putting the phone face down on the table. 3 months ago, I was defective. Now, our marriage is worth saving. How did he find out about the inheritance? Julian asks, his voice grave. Jessica Reed mentioned he hired a private investigator during the divorce proceedings. He must have had me followed. The realization hits me with chilling clarity. God, Julian, what if he knows about you? About the pregnancy? As if summoned by the thought, my phone buzzes again. A text from yet another, different burner number. Congratulations on your new relationship, Clara, and the pregnancy. We really need to talk. The violation is a physical blow. He hasn't just been following me. He's been watching me, investigating the most private aspects of my new life. That's it, I say, grabbing my phone and the menu. I'm calling Jessica right now. Jessica Reed answers on the first ring, and when I explain, her voice turns to ice. Forward me all those messages immediately. Having you stalked and obtaining medical information illegally crosses several severe legal lines. This isn't just harassment anymore, Clara. This is escalating to criminal stalking. What can we do? I ask, my voice a frantic whisper. I'm filing for an emergency restraining order extension this afternoon, citing escalation and harassment, she replies, her confidence immediately calming me. And we are pursuing criminal charges. He doesn't have to win anything for this behavior to shut him down. We're going to ensure he can't come within 500 feet of you, Julian, or your future child. Julian pulls me close. Hey, look at me. We're not going to let his desperation ruin our happiness. We're building something incredible here. Ethan is stuck in the past, trying to reclaim something that was never actually his. We are moving forward. And as I place my hand on my growing belly, I know he is absolutely right. Ethan Thorne is just a desperate ghost, trying to break into a machine he no longer has the key to. The next few weeks are a blur of legal maneuvers, filings, and emotionally draining depositions. Julian is my rock, his calm, logical cardiologist temperament perfectly balancing my rising anxiety and anger. We refuse every package, block every burner number, and document every single invasive attempt by Ethan. Jessica Reed, my architect of vengeance, moves with ruthless efficiency. She uses every text, every discarded flower delivery, and every instance of stalking to build a rock-solid case. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, I'm at the apartment sorting tiny baby clothes. a surprisingly therapeutic activity, when the phone rings. It's Jessica. Clara, I have incredible news. The judge ruled on the emergency motion this morning. She sounds positively gleeful. Criminal stalking charges were filed, citing the extreme level of harassment and the invasion of privacy, particularly concerning your medical status and pregnancy. The judge was not impressed with Mr. Thorne's behavior. So what does that mean? I ask, sinking onto the ottoman, clutching a tiny blue onesie. It means the restraining order is permanent and dramatically expanded. If he attempts to contact you, Julian, or any known associates, or even attempts to have items delivered, he faces immediate jail time and massive fines. We've established a legal wall, Clara. He is legally, officially a stranger to you. The relief is so profound it leaves me momentarily breathless. And the private investigator? Fired, apparently. Ethan couldn't afford to pay him anymore. Turns out, when you're not married to a $47 million heiress, legal fees add up quickly. Jessica chuckles, a dry, satisfying sound. But that's not the best part. I've just concluded the final financial settlement negotiations. The prenup. Completely thrown out. We proved he not only provided unconscionable terms, but actively misrepresented his business assets when you signed it. That renders the whole thing null and void. She pauses for dramatic effect. Clara, the law doesn't care whether you need money. It cares whether you're entitled to it. And due to his deception and the documented emotional abuse, you are entitled to a significant portion of everything he earned during the marriage, plus damages for emotional distress. I'd almost forgotten about the money. Now, it feels less like compensation and more like a symbol of accountability. How much are we talking about, Jessica? The final settlement came through this morning. Ethan Thorne has been ordered to pay you $2.3 million in total damages and asset division. All legal fees are also his responsibility. $2.3 million. That money Ethan worked hard for during the time he was actively destroying my self-worth, now legally belongs to me. The irony is delicious, a masterpiece of cosmic karma. Ethan tried to use the law to make me leave empty-handed, and his own greed and cruelty have resulted in him writing me a check for millions. So it's really over. I whisper, the truth of the statement finally sinking in. Officially over, completely over. Victor Thorne is legally a stranger to you, has no claim to any of your assets, and has zero standing regarding your child. You're married to Julian. The baby will be born into your current family, and he has zero rights or claims to anything in your life, present or future. Go live your life, Clara. You've won the war. After I hang up, I sit in the nursery, surrounded by the warm, carefully chosen furniture Julian and I picked out together. This room represents everything Ethan tried to convince me I could never have. A family, security, unconditional love. The woman who was married to Ethan Thorne, who believed she was worthless, no longer exists in any legal or emotional sense. In her place is someone who knows her worth, who chose the right partner, and who has a legacy of both $47 million from her father and $2.3 million in pure, distilled justice from her ex-husband. When Julian finds me an hour later, I'm rocking slightly in the chair, tears streaming down my face. Happy tears or sad tears? He asks, kneeling beside my chair and placing his hand gently on my stomach. Relief tears, I laugh, wiping my eyes. Ethan is legally out of our lives forever, and he has to pay me over $2 million for the privilege of having treated me so badly. That's incredible news, Julian says. What are you going to do with his money? I look down at my belly where our daughter is currently practicing gymnastics. We're putting it all in a trust fund for the baby. Ethan's money, ironically enough, will end up helping support the family he'll never know he helped create. Julian leans in and kisses me. Justice served with a side of irony. I like it. 2 months later, 7 months pregnant and undeniably glowing, I stand in a sun-drenched garden in the heart of Tuscany, Italy. The air is thick with the scent of olive trees and jasmine. This is the garden of Julian's family villa, the beautiful property he inherited from his grandmother and always meant to visit. Today, it is the setting for our wedding. This ceremony is everything my first wedding wasn't. It is intimate, joyful, and completely focused on celebrating love, not on impressing shareholders or maintaining appearances. There are no forced smiles, no obligatory guests, just our closest friends, Dr. Martinez, who doubles as my maid of honor, having guided my body and spirit, and Julian's large, boisterous, welcoming family. Julian's mother, Elena, cried when she first felt the baby kick, and his father has already started planning the future nursery renovation at the villa for our annual visits. They welcomed me and my complicated baggage with open arms, treating my pregnancy as the gift it is, not a complication. I'm wearing a simple silk gown that drapes beautifully over my round belly, and I feel like the luckiest woman alive. Dr. Martinez adjusts the simple veil over my hair, whispering, "You look stunning, Clara. Absolutely radiant. You've earned every bit of this happiness." The ceremony is conducted by a kind local priest who speaks both Italian and English, creating a beautiful, bilingual celebration that honors both our backgrounds. When we exchange vows, Julian looks past me, down at the life we created together, and his promises include our daughter. "I promise to love you completely, Clara, and to build with you the kind of partnership where we both become better versions of ourselves. And I promise to love this child as the miracle they are, to be the father they deserve, and to create with you a family built on respect, joy, and unconditional love." I can barely speak through my happy tears. I promise to be your partner, Julian, in every sense of the word. I promise to never settle for less than we both deserve ever again. And I promise to nurture the beautiful, unexpected life we've created in a home filled with laughter and security. There isn't a dry eye in the garden. We are pronounced husband and wife, and the chorus of auguri echoes through the olive grove. The reception is held under string lights in the courtyard, with tables laden with incredible food prepared by Julian's aunts and cousins. It is warm, familial, and full of genuine affection. During dinner, Jessica Reed raises her glass for a toast to Clara and Julian, who prove that sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is losing what you thought you wanted, so you can find what you actually need. To second chances, Dr. Martinez raises hers next, and to women who choose themselves over settling for less than they deserve, to the ultimate vindication of the female body and spirit. As the evening winds down and the guests begin to retire, Julian and I walk through the vineyard behind the villa. The night air is warm, filled with the distant sound of music and laughter. "Any regrets?" Julian asks, wrapping his arm around my waist as we pause to look out over the moonlit valley. I lean into him, only that it took me so long to find you. But actually no, the timing was perfect. If we'd met while I was still married, I wouldn't have been ready for something real. You had to work yourself to the bone to be ready to prioritize a relationship, and I had to go through that pain to become the woman you fell in love with. "Everything happened exactly when it was supposed to," he agrees, kissing the top of my head. Suddenly, My phone buzzes with a notification. It's an email from an unknown address. I almost ignore it, but the subject line is too specific: wedding photos. I open it, a sense of dread returning. The email contains a link and a short civil message. Saw the wedding photos online. You look beautiful and happy. Congratulations on your new life. I hope you find everything you're looking for. Ethan. Somehow, he found pictures of our ceremony, probably through social media postings from a well-meaning cousin, and felt compelled to insert himself one last time. I show the message to Julian. He frowns. Do you want to respond? I consider it for a moment, then simply delete the message without reply. No, he doesn't deserve a response, gracious or otherwise. The best thing I can do is continue ignoring him completely. He's part of the past now. We are the future. As we walk back to the villa, hand in hand under the Tuscan stars, I realize Ethan's message doesn't upset me the way his previous contacts did. It's just background noise, annoying but utterly irrelevant to the life I'm living. Tomorrow, we fly back to the States to prepare for our baby's arrival. Ethan can scheme and stalk and send all the messages he wants from whatever distance he's maintaining. He is no longer part of my story. He's just a cautionary tale. Back in Manhattan, the nursery is finally complete. A sanctuary of pale yellows and soft grays, a quiet, peaceful space that feels infinitely secure. I am 8 months pregnant, feeling heavy but immensely joyful, savoring these last few weeks of calm before our daughter's arrival. One sunny afternoon, Julian and I are assembling a particularly complicated piece of baby gear when the phone rings. It's Jessica Reed. I put the instruction manual down and take the call, instantly knowing she wouldn't call unless it was important. "Clara, you need to hear this," Jessica says, her voice full of that familiar, confident gusto. The final enforcement order was served this morning. The $2.3 million payment from Ethan Thorne has been successfully liquidated from his business assets and is now wired to your trust. Wow, I breathe, sinking into the nursery chair. So it's truly finalized. No more appeals, no more legal loopholes. Absolutely not. It is officially over, completely over, financially, legally, and personally. The judge was particularly harsh, Clara, citing the emotional abuse throughout the marriage and the documented criminal stalking. The $2.3 million is a combination of your marital asset division and significant punitive damages. The relief is overwhelming. For months, a small, anxious part of me had worried Ethan would find some new legal avenue to continue his torment. Instead, the system recognized his actions and held him accountable. What about the money Julian and I talked about? I ask. The plan for a trust. It's done. Per your instructions, the $2.3 million is now sitting in the George Vance Jr. Legacy Trust, a separate, irrevocable fund for your daughter's education and future. It's completely segregated from your personal funds, ensuring its security. I smile, looking at the assembled crib. Julian's sonogram photo of our daughter is tacked up on the wall. So, the money Ethan stole from me emotionally, the years of pain he caused, will now directly provide the ultimate financial security for the child he swore I could never have and who he will never meet. That is the exact summary I gave my team this morning, Jessica confirms, laughing. Justice, Clara. Sweet, sweet justice. He doesn't get to abuse you for years and then profit from it. Now, go have your baby and never look back. After hanging up, Julian sits beside me in the rocking chair, pulling me close. So, our daughter has a trust fund, courtesy of the man who called her mother worthless. A beautiful irony, I confirm, leaning my head against his shoulder. My father gave me the freedom to leave, and Ethan's own cruelty gave me the security to ensure our daughter never has to depend on anyone else for survival. Julian gently rubs my enormous belly. You know I'm a cardiologist. I fix hearts. You came into my life broken and afraid, and you healed yourself, Clara. You are the strongest person I know. I'm just a woman who finally learned the difference between being wanted and being valued, Julian. And I was lucky enough to find a man who valued the woman I actually was. A few days later, the calm shatters. At 38 weeks, perfectly healthy timing, I go into labor. We rush to the hospital. Julian, calm and medical. Me, trying to breathe through the contractions. Dr. Martinez is there, smiling warmly as she coaches me. You're doing beautifully, Clara. Just a few more pushes. You've got this. Julian is holding my hand, his face streaming with tears, not of panic, but of absolute, boundless wonder, as he watches our daughter enter the world. He is the man who stood by me through the chaos, who promised to love and protect us, and who cried when our baby took her first breath. That is the true definition of a father. She's perfect, Dr. Martinez announces, placing our daughter, all pink and squalling on my chest. Completely perfect. I look down at this tiny, beautiful human who grew inside my body while I rebuilt my entire life. She has Julian's dark hair and my green eyes, and her cry is strong and healthy and wonderfully indignant. Hello, baby girl, I whisper, stroking her cheek. Welcome to your beautiful life. Julian leans down to kiss both of us. Welcome home, sweetheart. You are so loved. 6 months have passed since my daughter, Chloe Elena Morales, was born. 6 months of the beautiful, chaotic, sleep-deprived joy that only new parenthood brings. We are settled in our Manhattan apartment, which is now truly home, full of our combined books, photos, and the comfortable mess of a real, functional family. Julian is back to a reduced patient schedule, ensuring he has plenty of time for us. I have started a small foundation, using a portion of my father's inheritance, dedicated to helping victims of emotional and financial abuse find independent legal counsel, a way to pay forward the incredible gift of freedom I received. Sitting in our small garden terrace, watching Chloe nap peacefully in her bassinet, I realize I almost never think about my old life anymore. Ethan Thorne feels like a character from a book I read long ago, a story about a woman who didn't know her own strength. My phone buzzes with a notification. It's a news alert from a local business journal. I almost scroll past it, but the headline catches my eye. Thorne Tech Solutions files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy amidst legal fee overload. Ethan's business, filing for bankruptcy. Apparently, the legal fees for the divorce, the punitive damages, the asset division, and the desperate attempts to fight Jessica Reed had finally proven too much for his company to absorb. The $2.3 million payout was the final, devastating straw. I feel a brief, fleeting moment of something that might be sympathy, but it quickly dissolves when I remember the 2 years of being told I was a failure, the 2 days I spent sitting in a diner parking lot, and the pure terror of his stalking. I put the phone down, returning my gaze to my sleeping daughter and my husband reading peacefully nearby. I don't need his downfall to feel validated, but the justice is undeniable. The baby's birth certificate lists Julian as her father, which is precisely correct. Biology doesn't make a family. Love does. Choice does. Showing up every day does. I stand up, stretching gently, and walk over to Julian. I was just thinking, I say, wrapping my arms around his neck. It took losing everything to gain everything. Ethan thought he was destroying me when he threw me out, but he was actually handing me the key to a $47 million fortune and the opportunity to meet the man I was meant to spend my life with. Julian kisses me, his eyes full of that deep, unconditional love I finally understand and deserve. He mistook control for love, Clara, and that my love is why he lost. You are a queen now, and you built your own kingdom. If this story resonated with you, if you are a woman in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s, feeling diminished, feeling controlled, or feeling like you've lost yourself in a relationship, please know this. You are not defective. You are simply in the wrong soil. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the best thing in disguise. Sometimes you have to lose everything you thought you wanted to find everything you actually needed. The love of a father, even from beyond the grave, provided the launch pad, but your self-worth provided the fuel. Never, ever settle for less than the respect and unconditional love you deserve. If you suddenly found the ultimate financial freedom, what is the first toxic relationship or situation you would finally walk away from? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it gives you the strength to write your own magnificent second act.